Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Houston, we got no problems. Today we're going to be talking about the factors that affect temperature in a particular region. So the temperature isn't just consistently based upon, your latitude and all that stuff. It does, right? How much sunlight you get. There's a lot of other variables that really matter, and we're going to look at some case studies, of course. So the first one we're going to talk about is water. If you or whoever, somebody lives close to water, it affects things big time, right? Because you see, it turns out that land can be heated up more easily than water. So if you're close to a body of water, the water doesn't heat up as much, temperature-wise, as does the land, right? So take a look at these two cases. Here we have Vancouver and we have Winnipeg. There's in Canada. They're both at about the same latitude, but take a look at the different temperatures over the course of the year. Notice that Vancouver, right? Vancouver has a less steep curve. We talked about in the last video the temperature difference, right? So huge difference in Winnipeg, where it gets really hot in the summer and super crazy cold in the winter, and where Vancouver is more moderated. You see, water has a moderating effect, meaning it makes the hots not as hot and the colds not as cold. I used to live right here in Chicago area, and we were right off of Lake Michigan, and when the summers were always cooler because Lake Michigan was cold, and then the energy, remember energy always flows from hot to cold, so the energy of the air would be used to heat up the colder water, which would make our area colder than if you were further inland. And then the nice thing about the winter is in the winter, I just was, right here, a mile from the beach, is that the hot water, comparatively, like the air might be like literally 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but the water, it has to be more than 32 because it's still water, it's not ice. It would then heat up the air, and we would be a little bit warmer than the rest of the Chicago area. And so if you live near water, you get a moderating effect, and it means you even out the temperatures, and the extremes become less. Some factors that cause water to make it's different is the specific heat. The specific heat of water is high compared to the rocks and stuff. So specific heat is high for water, and that's one thing that causes the moderating effect. You also get evaporation near water, and evaporation is a cooling effect, so it's going to cool things down as water gets evaporated. So adding water near a certain place is going to change the temperature of that region. The next one, again, some of these we sort of talked about, but be more specific. What else can really affect the temperature? The next one is altitude. Altitude, basically we say it's 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit per 1,000 feet. So take a look here. We've got a couple of places here. We've got here in Ecuador. They're both at the equator, but one's cold and one's hot. Why? Because one's way up in the mountains. Right, Quito, it's the capital of Ecuador, and you can see it, but on the beach it's hot. Why? Because it's closer to the shore because of the elevation. So elevation matters. And again, I think I've talked about this, but I used to live at 9,000 feet, and the highest temperature ever in the little town I lived in, 89 degrees ever. Never broke 90 degrees there. And because we were at 9,000 feet, and if we went down the hill, so to speak, to a town called Colorado Springs, which was elevation 6,500 feet maybe, we were at 9, that extra 3,000 feet gave us about 10 degrees. And actually for us, again, this is localized, we were finding about a 7-degree difference between us and the Colorado Springs area. So anyway, so altitude will change your weather patterns. Another one is this one is geographic position. And often this has to do sort of with water. So if you have wind, how wind blows matters. If it blows windward, by the way, means land to sea. Or if it blows leeward, and that is sea to land, makes a huge difference. All right, if it's sea to land, then it's going to be cooler. And if it's land to sea, it's going to be warmer. because usually the continent is going to be warmer than the ocean. And so where that matters is a big deal. So for example, we've got a picture here of Seattle and Spokane. And Seattle is, again, more moderated. They're near the water. Again, sort of that moderating effect. But also the wind makes a difference versus Spokane, which is inland. So they have a much colder specific temperature. And then the last one we'll talk about, if you can see this, cloud cover. Cloud cover matters too. It's going to affect the temperature of where you live. Cloud cover is weird, right? If there's daytime clouds, it's colder. Why? Because the sun reflects off of the clouds and then never makes it to the earth. But at night, it'll make it warmer because it's going to trap the heat in more. So a really clear night, oftentimes you'll see a big dip in temperature because of it's trapping the heat and saving the heat closer to the earth. So, and if you're in a region that has certain patterns of cloud covers, then you're going to see different kinds of temperature. So these are the factors that can change the entire thing. We can make generalizations. It's hot at the equator and it's cold at the poles, but these things can make a huge difference. And we talk water, again, a connection from a long time ago, but we talked about surface ocean currents. So if you've got a warm surface ocean current coming across, you can actually have a very mildish climate, even far north. I had a chance to go to Alaska, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago with my son on a boat. It was crazy awesome. And in the middle of the summer, and you'd think Alaska cold, but I was able to swim in the water almost every day. Now the water wasn't warm. It was 64 degree, something like that. But it was swimmable. I had a wetsuit on, so I was able to swim. But that's because there was a warm ocean current, so it then kept the area around there warm. And it doesn't actually really freeze there that much unless you go inland. You go inland very far and it becomes an ice field. But on the coast, it can be very, very different because of the water. So these are the factors that can change an area from what you'd expect to be cold or be hot, or expect to be hot to be cold, or whatever it might be, because of these kinds of variables. Houston, we don't have a problem. We'll see you in class.